Hi everyone. In this video, I am going over an overpay I did of Patreon's original. This is the overpay and this is the original. And at the end of the video, you will find a time lapse of the process. But right now, I just want to do overview of the changes I did. Um, in the original, one of the first things I noticed was that there was not a strong value separation between lights and shadow. That's very important because that's what make the forms turn. That's what creates the illusion of 3D space. So here, for example, you can see that there is some rendering. You can see that there is a cylindrical kind of light applied to the forearm. However, it's very weak. So in the overpaint, I try to make that area more reflective. Not only because of the illusion of form I was talking about, but also because the material is like a leather kind of sleeve or latex. And it's not only the sleeve, it's the gloves too. So here, for example, you can see that I decided to use this corner as the area where the light is being catch, and the planes on the side are in shadow. And I am using also this area, this corner that is catching light to tie together the forearm, the wrist, and the dorsal side of the hand, where the corner actually opens up and becomes a plane, and is what helps us create the dorsal side of the hand. You can see that, oops, let me undo that. And you can see that the value segregation is used on the skin too. However, in the skin, because it's a material with less reflectivity, the skin has a more compressed range of values. You can see that different materials usually has a different kind of range, and that's very important when you are rendering, when you are painting, to try to select, to be very conscious of the range you are going to use for each material. For example, metal is a material that is very reflective. So these beads here are have a stronger range of value than the sleeve and the glove, and it's even stronger than the skin. So yeah, I hope you can see why having a quick read is very effective to create the illusion of form. It also will speed up your process by being very conscious of the shapes and the contrast between those shapes when you are rendering, when you are painting your piece. Also remember that readability is very important these days because we are in a social media kind of world, and you have very few seconds to catch the attention of potential followers. Another thing that I noticed in the original is that the face is not very characteristic. I have seen Jinx in the past, and I know she has some qualities to her. So I saw the original, and the original has some qualities I can recognize as an attempt to depict Jinx. However, I can see areas where you can change some elements and get a more characteristic depiction of the character. Uh, Sounds kind of redundant, but anyway. Um, One of the things I noticed is that Jinx has a big strand of hair, and I wanted to paint it here with a very simple shape, so it reads faster. Also, the eyes, I made the eyes a bit bigger, but not only that, they are more open too. And the pupil is very small. What that causes is that she looks a bit demented, a bit crazy, compared to the calm expression of the original. So this looks already more characteristic. Another thing that makes it more characteristic is that I have seen Jinx smirk a lot. So I try to make a more clear smirk. And also, Jinx is quite young, so I increased the size of her forehead, made the jawline a bit smaller, a bit more delicate, and you can see the difference between the original and the overpaint. And I will say the overpaint is a bit more identifiable. Okay, um, let's get back to the contrast talk and the hierarchy between the different areas. Here, I want to be very specific because I want to touch on a very general topic. It's not only about anatomy or forms; it's about the composition itself. For example, in the original, I could see contrast used in faraway elements. And that's usually not something you want because those elements that are receding in space are usually not your most interesting elements. Like for example, here, there is a very high contrast in that side of the background, and I wanted to invert that hierarchy. So I made the sky darker, the piece of the hammock that is near the top also darker. So it fuses together with the pants. And you can see already that that area is less emphasized in the overpaint than in the original. Okay? Try to leave high contrast areas for those elements that you want to your viewer to focus his or her attention to. For example, in in the overpaint, I increase the contrast between the head and the drop shadow of the breast and the hammock. This is a very high contrast area, you can see, because I want to focus the gaze of the viewer in that area specifically. Let's see what else. The braids, it's something similar to what I just said. You can see that she has a left braid and a right one. Or let's be more specific, she has a near braid and a far braid. So in the original, both the near one and the far one have very hard edges. I can see the attempt to de-emphasize the far one by making it darker. However, that's not enough sometimes because you have to take into account edges. So hard edge will catch the attention. A soft edge, or even better, a lost edge, an edge that fused together with the background or another element, is going to be very de-emphasized. It's going to come off as atmospheric perspective. Okay, so in the overpaint, as you can see, that far braid is less elaborated. It also slightly erased. So the one that is near us, the near braid, is almost the same value actually. But the fact that I erased the far one makes the front one automatically more emphasized than the far one. Um, Another thing is that you have to be very aware of your. Oh, I did that circle in the wrong layer. You have to be very aware of your limbs, how those limbs integrate with your body. And Jinx, speaking of what makes a character more authentic, is a very petite girl, has a very slender body, so her limbs are expected to be slender too. I noticed the original, her arm was a bit girthy, so I tried to make it more delicate. You can see in the overpay, it's a bit slender, considerably more slender. Sorry, and that's because I wanted to create something that has a stronger sense of unity. Uh, an arm that is more girthy, that's bigger, is not going to match a slender body, a petite body. So be very careful with your selection of limbs. Another thing that I try to do and change from the original is that the fingers are very cylindrical, and that could be okay if your fingers are on the and on the foreground, sorry, on the background, on a character that is almost not visible. But in the foreground, everything is more noticeable, especially because you have a source of light that is bouncing light on the fingers. Is another thing that I changed too. Besides that, you can see the bounce light that was added on the overpay. So anyway, going back to the fingers, you don't have to make the fingers too detailed, but I will suggest to try to square off the fingers to make the phalanx more readable through the squaring off the values or the contour of the fingers. So you can see that here, for example, this phalanx, the one that is connected to the hand, is very square. The middle one too, and it's only on the tip of the finger that I made it more rounder, but it looks more proper than just making the fingers cylindrical. Okay. Speaking of squaring off, and this is something I also apply in other areas of anatomy. You can see that the head, and this is not wrong in the original. It's just I try to make it more clearly to the viewer that the skull is squared off. By that I mean that you can see the planes of the skull in a very quick way. It has a quick read. You can see that this is the front side, sorry, this is the lateral side, this is the front side, and this is the top side. And as I said, it's not bad in the original. I can see those planes too. But I just wanted to make it more apparent. Also, another thing I will suggest is that your hair should be conveyed or should be thought of as bigger elements. Okay, you can see that in the original you have many strands, and that is very difficult to handle. That's why in the overpaint you can see that there are fewer elements for the hair, but they still come off as hair. I will say that in her head, there are only three elements. There are some strands that were left, but in general, there are three main elements that conform her head, the hair on her head. So yeah, that's basically one of the things that you can do to simplify your task as an illustrator. Try to simplify your elements. Try to make your values more bolder and create clearly delineated shapes of light and shapes of shadow. Not only that, but I also, and sorry if I am going back to past points, but you can see that the the shadows are tied together. There are very few island of shadows. I don't remember who said that, but you should try to avoid making your shadows too scattered. You should tie together your shadows into a single shape. And to some extent, your light soup, you can see how the highlight, as I said before, is coming from the forearm, staying together the wrist, and it's opening up on the hand. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope this review has been helpful. If you are interested in this service, I offer it in my Patreon, patreon.com/Fires. And not only that, you can also get some overviews like this one, but for non-safe for work pieces that obviously I cannot post in social media, but I can do in Patreon. So you will find many, many other things. I don't want to overextend myself too much, but I think the value is there. I put a lot of effort creating learning materials and other exclusives that are based on my own work. So yeah, check it out if you found this video helpful. And I will leave you with time lapse of the overpaint process. So yeah, see ya, and thanks for watching.